percussion on a whole nother level, coming from my mind.
Every character death in Jujutsu Kaisen. Dagon was the special great curse spirit that was manifested from humanity's fear of the ocean and water bodies. He spent most of his appearances as a cursed womb before finally metamorphosing into a fully fledged cursed spirit during the Shibuya incident. Mere moments after awakening, Dagon trapped Fushiguro Megumi, Nanami Kento, Maki, and Nao Zenin in a domain expansion. Dagon was defeated by an invader of his domain. Once reincarnated, the corpse bearing Toji Fushiguro's bodily information focused on defeating the strongest fighters in his immediate vicinity. The first to feel his wrath was Dagon, proving yet again how dangerous the Zenin black sheep had always been. In mere minutes, he had wasted Dagon through pure physical strength, even while the cursed spirit stood in its domain. Mimiko and Nanako Hasaba. Mimiko and Nanako were two young curse users who Geto adopted after their village had forcibly imprisoned them. Since they possessed the ability to see curses, the villagers blamed their recent curse-related troubles on the young girls. When Geto discovered this, he slaughtered their entire village and adopted the girls as his own. Mimiko and Nanako took offense at how Kenjaku continued to defile their master's body. To get back at him, they tried to bargain with Sukuna, offering him a finger in exchange for killing Kenjaku on their behalf. Unfortunately, Sukuna was offended by their suggestion and killed both girls instead. Joogo was the special great disaster curse spirit that manifested out of humanity's fear of volcanoes. He was extremely powerful and prided himself on his strength. Joogo was quite committed to ending the human race and supplanting them with a new dominant species of curse. He did not even care if he survived to see that future as long as it came to pass for the rest of curse kind. Joogo died in battle testing his abilities against Sukuna. After force-feeding Itadori several fingers in quick succession, Sukuna gained complete control of his body for a period and agreed to grant Joogo one request if he succeeded in landing an attack on him. Joogo was unable to, and he died to a similar technique as his own that Sukuna pulled out in their battle's final hour. Haruta Shigemo's miracles curse technique allowed him to survive for much longer than any sorcerer of his skill level would have in his shoes. He was forced into an exorcism ritual for the 8-handled sword divergent Sila Divine General Mahoraga by Fushiguro, and he survived the Shikigami's first attack with his perpetually active technique. Sukuna interrupted the ritual to save Megumi, and in an effort to defeat Mahoraga, he cast a domain expansion that spanned most of Shinjuku. He successfully destroyed Mahoraga and voided the ritual, but his slashing attacks hit Shigemo as well, since he possessed cursed energy in Sukuna's domain. The cursed user's luck had finally run out when he needed it the most. Nanami Kento. Nanami was the first sorcerer to confront Mahito and had drawn the cursed spirit's attention from how he instinctively seemed to defend against his idol transfiguration technique. Once he knew that Nanami was another person Itadori cared about, Nanami was in his crosshair since Mahito was still trying to break Itadori's spirit. Mahito finally killed Nanami after the sorcerer was weakened by Dagon's domain expansion and the legion of transfigured humans that had been set loose in Shibuya. Nanami's entire torso was disintegrated before Yuji could stop Mahito, and he was forced to watch one of his teachers die brutally. Kugisaki Nobara. Nobara was yet another victim of Mahito's attempts to break Itadori's spirit. She originally encountered a double of Mahito that could not use his curse technique, and she was elated to find that her resonance proved especially effective as a curse that could only be damaged by attacks to the soul. Confident in her ability to exorcise him, Nobara pursued Mahito when he fled and missed the moment when the true Mahito exchanged places with his double in a blind spot. Mere minutes later, Itadori was forced to witness yet another person he cared for fall in front of him. Mahito was beaten into submission by the combined efforts of Itadori and Aoi Todo. Before his death, the duo pushed him to evolve his curse technique and unlock an even tougher form, the instant spirit body of distorted killing. As strong as Mahito had become, he was still unable to handle Itadori's rage. He was forced out of this form by a black flash and resorted to begging Kenjaku to save him. Unbeknownst to Mahito, this was the exact circumstance that Kenjaku was waiting for. Mahito had finally been weakened enough to the point where he was susceptible to being absorbed by cursed spirit manipulation. Once he added Mahito to his arsenal of cursed spirits, ideal transfiguration was Kenjaku's to use as he wished. Naobito Zenin. Naobito Zenin died as a result of injuries he received during the Shibuya incident. Even after losing an arm, he bravely continued to fight special grade cursed spirit and was essential to keeping Maki, Nanami, and Fushiguro alive in Daigen's domain. He even aided Toji Fushiguro in landing the final killing blow. Naobito was ambushed by Joogo as soon as Daigen's domain expansion collapsed. The exhausted sorcerer was no match for Joogo's speed and the fierceness of his flames. After evading one attack, he was severely burned by two separate jets of flame that Joogo had baited him into running through. Masamichi Yaga. Masamichi had been targeted by Jujutsu headquarters for ages because of his ability to create fully autonomous cursed corps. However, they could not make a move against him so long as Gojo Saturo was alive. His support of Jujutsu High and Masamichi by extension would have made mobilizing against the principal a suicide mission. After Gojo was sealed in the prison realm, Jujutsu headquarters quickly accosted Masamichi, threatening him with execution if he refused to divulge the secret of his autonomous curse corps. It was none other than Principal Gakuganji who ended up delivering his sentence. For his efforts, he received the information on how to create curse corps from Gakuganji, not in the form of a curse. Mai Zenin. Mai Zenin was already dying from injuries she had received from her father, so she decided to use her death to buff her twin sister Maki even more than it already would. Since Mai had a curse technique, Maki's heavenly restriction that granted her superhuman abilities could never be completed. Mai took all her curse energy away, granting Maki strength equal to Toji Fushiguro. Before she succumbed to her wounds, Mai sacrificed her life to use her construction curse technique to create a special grade curse tool, Split Soul Katana. This weapon ignores any resistance, causing damage directly to its target's soul. Ogi Zenin. Maki started the Zenin massacre with her father, who had just tried to execute her and Mai. Ogi Zenin attempted to kill his daughters for political gain, but Maki went several steps further in her retaliation. After killing her father, she went on to massacre the entire Zenin clan. Maki tore through the Kukuru unit and the Hei, elite factions within the Zenin clan that were its final line of defense. She spared no soul in order to honor Mai's final request to destroy everything. Naoya Zenin. Naoya Zenin represented the worst aspects of the Zenin clan. He was violently misogynistic and quite entitled, as he had inherited projection sorcery, one of the more coveted techniques of the clan. He was especially cruel to the women of his clan since they were not allowed to become sorcerers, which made the manner in which he died all the more satisfying. Naoya was beaten up and left for dead by Maki after she had slaughtered the rest of the Zenins. The final blow was struck by Maki's mother, stabbing his crawling form from behind as he struggled. Naoya would later return as a vengeful cursed spirit since he was not killed with cursed energy, but he was exorcised for good by Maki in chapter 198. Chizuru Haori and Regista. Chizuru Haori and Regista were sorcerers who had banded together to form a team in the culling game. As the leader of the group, Regi tried to recruit Fushiguro to join him, but chose to kill him instead when Fushiguro stated that his joining was conditional on them giving him the points they won. Fushiguro would have been happy to flee the battle when negotiations broke down, but his assailants continued to pursue him. His first ever kill was Chizuru Haori in an unceremonious and brutal murder. Regi was a much trickier sorcerer to deal with. but Fushiguro defeated him eventually with an ingenious application of his domain expansion and well-timed bluffs. Yuki Shumo. Yuki Shumo was one of the 4 special grade sorcerers officially recognized by Jujutsu Society with a curse technique that allowed her to add virtual mass onto herself and her Shikigami, Garuda. Tengen shortlisted Yuki as one of those he would prefer protecting him, and she died defending the ancient curse spirit and sorcerer from Kenjaku. Yuki died by activating her maximum technique and adding more mass onto herself until she became a black hole. It was a technique that had the ability to destroy the entire world had Tengen not kept it confined to his barriers. Impressively, Kenjaku survived the black hole by using his own body as a domain, and she ended up sacrificing her life for no reason. Ryu Isori. Ryu Isori was one of the reincarnated sorcerers who had agreed to participate in the culling game. He boasted the highest curse energy output and was one of the reasons for the 3-way deadlock in the Sendai colony of the games. Ryu survived battling against Yuta but met his match in the recently reincarnated Sukuna. As soon as Sukuna had deconsecrated Fushiguro's body by soaking it in evil, he immediately began using it for his violent ends. His first victim was Ryu, who did not understand the danger of the sorcerer who had suddenly appeared in front of him and demanded to be given a pass. Before Ryu could fire his granite blast, Sukuna activated Cleave, slicing his head open into 3 different parts. Yorozu. Yorozu was a reincarnated sorcerer from the Heian era who had been resurrected in Tsumiki Fushiguro's body. In her lifetime, she had been obsessed with Sukuna but had not been of any particular interest to the King of Curses. Now, however, taking the time to fight Yorozu was beneficial for him. Sukuna fought her exclusively with the 10 Shadows technique, banking on the fact that Fushiguro's soul would be crushed if his technique killed his sister and allowed him unfettered control of his body. Yorozu fell to Sukuna like she wished but used the last of her curse energy to form the Kamutoke, a curse tool similar to one Sukuna had wielded in his peak era. Gojo Saturo. Gojo's death was the most surprising in Jujutsu Kaisen since it came mere moments after it was basically confirmed that he had won the most exciting match in Jujutsu history. Fresh on a Black Flash fuel high, his hollow purple attack tore through Shinjuku, hitting Sukuna for the second time and severely injuring him. With Sukuna on the ropes, Gojo took 1 second to refresh his curse energy and savor the victory. The next moment, Gojo's torso had been separated from his body. Apparently, Sukuna had prepared a new slashing attack especially for Gojo's infinity after watching how Mahoraga bypassed it. His slash did not target Gojo, but rather the space in which his body inhabited, meaning there was nothing traveling toward him for infinity to stop. Hajime Kosimo. Given how confident Hajime Kosimo appeared in his curse technique's effectiveness on Sukuna, it was surprising that he barely lasted a chapter in his battle against the King of Curses. Mythic Beast Ember allowed him to duel with Sukuna for a while, but after Sukuna completed his transformation into his true form, the fight was over. Fighting a 4-armed sorcerer proved too difficult a challenge for Kosimo. At any point in time, Sukuna was preparing seals and chants for a follow-up attack before his initial one even connected, leaving Kosimo in a perpetual state of defense. The fight ended when Sukuna recreated the move that had killed Gojo on a much larger scale, and Kosimo was helpless to defend against it.